It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Got this headline here from CBS News. When was the date on this? This is back in the middle of January. But did you know that it's now being reported that Americans are more likely to die from opioid overdoses than a car accident? I want you to think about that for a second. You're more likely to die from an opioid overdose than a car accident. That's a pretty big deal. Joining us now, I want to introduce you to talk more about this. We have Dr. Evan Argintar. He is a board-certified orthopedic surgeon with advanced training in sports and upper extremity reconstruction. And he's from MedStar Washington Hospital Center in Washington, D.C. Dr. Argintar, thanks for coming on the program this morning, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. So just tell us a little bit about, this opioid epidemic that we're facing. You, as an orthopedic surgeon, I'm sure, after surgery, people are in pain and they want some medicine to get rid of that pain. So where does opioids come into it with you?
Well, just about every patient who gets surgery has pain, and opioids or narcotics are one of many different types of medicines that we routinely give patients. Once upon a time, there was a much bigger emphasis on pain control for physicians, and so we generally, as a group, were a little bit unaware of the risks, and we prescribed it too much. Now, these days, fortunately, there's a lot more awareness of this type of problem, and so certain doctors, including me, as someone who prescribes narcotics, using a lot of multimodal pain management techniques that minimize the amount of narcotics that I give patients afterwards.
Okay, so what's the solution here? I mean, you think people are over prescribing opioids at this point?
Absolutely. So I think the solution is to have awareness beforehand. In my practice, I talk to patients about expectations, about how long they should need narcotics, about how much narcotics I'll give them. The other way to minimize the amount of narcotics I give people is to incorporate other types of pain medicines that don't have the potential addictive side effects and the side effects of constipation and nausea that are inherent with the narcotic medications.
So, I mean, I think about my own experience with these types of drugs. I guess I was prescribed them once when I was, I had my wisdom teeth taken out a long time ago, back when I was in high school. Used them, and then stopped using them. And then I had a kidney stone a few years back, needed them very, very much that I need them then. But I guess when I was in severe pain, I never really felt any sort of euphoria or anything like that because I was in such severe pain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, some people don't get the euphoria. I mean, narcotics do work as a pain medicine. They just have to be used under close supervision. A lot of people who become addicts will even cite simple surgery, often even an orthopedic surgery, as the first time that they were introduced to medication. So as a provider, I think we need to be very responsible and on top of monitoring how much we're giving people, because when you're in a busy practice, there's certainly opportunities where some people and some prescription, sort of get lost in the way. So we just have to be very consistent with the amount of medicines we're giving people.
Well, and there's no question. I mean, it's destroying people's lives. These drugs are destroying people's lives. Now, here in Arkansas, and really other places, because we have more regulations trying to limit the prescribing of these drugs, sometimes people are turning to heroin. And there's actually a big heroin epidemic that I think's springing up. We have some hepatitis outbreaks in our local restaurants, and I think that's because no one wants to admit that it's because of heroin, but I think it is. I have a source in the health department that says that it is.
Well, the same medication that's addictive in the postoperative narcotics that doctors prescribe is the identical addictive medicine that's in heroin.
Yeah, so it's essentially the same thing. It's like one's synthetic and one's not, right?
Yeah, and then the other issue is that a lot of the medicines we prescribe, we believe, are probably not taken by the patients we administer them to or prescribe them to. A lot of people end up selling them to some of these individuals who get that addiction and desperately need the narcotic or go on to heroin or something like that.
What is the where does fentanyl come in all of this? I mean, there's a lot of talk, especially with surrounding, the idea of border security, that this drug is extremely dangerous.
Well, it is dangerous, but it's just a different packaging of narcotic. Again, the same medicine in morphine and Percocet and Dilaudid and it's just how it's administered, how is it used, and how is it abused. Fentanyl, when used appropriately, is a very short-acting pain medicine, so it works, second to second, minute to minute, and so it's used in hospital settings frequently to control very acute elevations of pain. In my practice, for example, I don't prescribe fentanyl. The narcotic pain medications that I typically prescribe would be something like Percocet or oxycodone, and then I'll transition people to something called tramadol, which is a synthetic narcotic, and then I'm very quick to just transition them to Tylenol and Celebrex and some of these other pain medicines that don't have the addictive qualities.
Let me ask you this. Okay, as far as pain management goes, here in Arkansas, which we're on, several stations here in the state as well as broadcasting online, what about marijuana? And when I say that is we recently legalized medical marijuana. Dispensaries are going to open here in a couple of months. What are your thoughts on that, Doctor?
I think that marijuana is going to find a very good evidence-based role for lots of medicinal purposes, including pain control. The problem with it right now is that it is offered in lots of different forms, and frankly, from the clinician's perspective, it's hard to tell how to administer it, how to prescribe it. That being said, as the industry ramps up, as things become more legal and more accessible, I do expect over the next couple of years that it becomes more common to use that type of medicine in post-operative pain control.
Well, yeah. So, yeah, I that's kind of what I'm thinking too. And of all of the things that I talked about back when this was on the ballot several years ago, I can't tell you how many people would text or call in, and it was a very hot issue there. Like I would rather there were people, professionals, who were openly breaking the law because they said I would rather use the marijuana than take all these pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was amazed at how many the response that you would get from people who were already doing this.
I mean, the goal is to be pain-free, and often that's achievable, especially with orthopedic surgery. But sometimes it isn't. There are pain doctors, pain management physicians who, whose job really is to take care of patients who have these chronic pain issues. And currently, the THC, which is the active ingredient in marijuana, is being used in lots of different forms to help those doctors combat the chronic pain issues.
Okay, so we're talking with Dr. Evan Argintar. He's an orthopedic surgeon out of Washington, D.C. Now, we're kind of going to transition a little bit from the discussion of opioids, but President Trump, he made a comment about, it kind of revealed he was a little hesitant as to whether or not he'd let his son play football. So what about you, Dr. Argintar? As an orthopedic surgeon, would you let your son or your kids play football?
That's a great question, and that's a complicated question. I mean, certainly that sport has some risks that are specific to it that don't exist, with other sports. I'm a former lacrosse player once upon a time, which also is sort of a high-impact sport, maybe not quite to the degree of football. Me personally is different than the recommendations I give. I think if done correctly and coached correctly, if practiced correctly, you can certainly play football safely, but it'll certainly always have a risk of danger. Some of the rules that are now being incorporated in NFL, I think, will sort of take time to trickle through down to college and down to high school and to the Pee Wee leagues. But I would hope that as we become more aware of safety, that they become more ingrained in normal play. Me personally, would I encourage my child to not play football? Yes, probably. I mean, I would love for them to play things that don't have extra layers of danger, but I do believe that the sport can be played safely, and I think that as the rules change, and probably as innovation with safety, whether it is helmet or innovations in helmets or padding or other things, will probably help to support that sport and allow it to survive as we're becoming more aware of head injury and all the other injuries that occur with football.
So speaking of football, we've got Patriots quarterback Tom Brady. He, winning what is his sixth Super Bowl or something like that. He's 41 years old. I mean, is that surprise you as an orthopedic surgeon that he's able to still compete at the level that he's competing at 41?
I mean, it surprises me. 41 from the standpoint of a football player is certainly older than you would expect to be operating at that high level of performance. He prescribes to a real strict regimen of nutrition, and I will say I'm not a nutritionist, but and you don't want to apply his success and tell everyone in the NFL and otherwise to focus on avocados and all the other nutritional elements and supplements that he routinely does. But there are always going to be outliers. There are going to be people who function very highly for a lot longer. It's probably a product of his genetics as well as luck. Meaning that he was in a good system and didn't get injuries, at least later in his career, and had success. And really, some of the rule changes are very supportive of longevity for NFL quarterback careers. As once upon a time, it was much easier to get slammed helmet to helmet, thrown down on the ground. As they are more aware of safety, they've been, sort of hyper aware, so to speak, about calling those penalties, and that's been protected from that position.
Wow. Dr. Evan Argintar, we really appreciate you coming on and talking to us this morning, specifically about this opioid crisis, because, something has got to be done. It's like we were talking about earlier, it's ruining people's lives. And, doctors need to know to, I guess, prescribe it less. But then again, you've got people out there that are in pain. And so it is definitely a complicated situation. I'll give you the last word.
Well, it's a delicate balance. I think that the movement of awareness and education has already started. There are lots of different medicines that can comfortably control pain after surgery. Narcotics is one of them, but as long as you're willing to incorporate other like strong anti-inflammatories, Tylenol, nerve blocks, at least on the orthopedic side of things, I think we can get a good balance of pain control after surgery with minimizing the exposure of all of this dangerous medicine.
Yeah. Dr. Evan Argintar, we appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much. You have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
All righty.